So spring equinox, we're at this balance point in the year. The other balance point is at the opposite side in 6 months' time when we get to autumn equinox. So equal day, equal night, and it's a balanced time. It's a real balance of yin and yang energy. So it's a really interesting day to feel that balance, to look at how is your life in balance or out of balance, and what you might need to do to bring it back into balance. The direction on the wheel of the year for the spring equinox is the east, and east is connected with the element of air. So think of fresh breezes. And east is also the direction of the sunrise. So it's all fresh energy, new beginning energy, which makes it a really exciting point in the year to work with. You know, when you think about the air element, go for a walk. If it's breezy, go for a walk on a breezy day and just let your winter cobwebs blow away now. We've done the hibernation phase. We're ready for that new growth. So let the fresh air in. If it's safe for you to do it, I would say open your windows, because that actually does change the energy in your home. It does make things feel much fresher and cleaner and newer. If we take ourselves back a century or two, our ancestors actually were much more dependent on their larders and on keeping food through the winter and getting through the winter. So when we got to this time of year, it must have been so exciting to see the fresh growth, because our stores would have been so diminished and depleted by now. So actually when we look out and we see, it's like I have a lot of sheep farming around here in Wales, and I can look out into the fields, and I'm vegetarian, but I can look out into the fields and see the lambs, and I can appreciate the joy of those new lambs. And you know, they're bouncing around in the fields. They're absolutely full of beans at the moment, and you know, they're lovely. New lambs are just so full of energy and just enjoying life. If you keep your own hens, they stop laying over winter and then they start again in the spring. So this is the time that we start seeing the potential for new growth, new food, fresh nourishment. And it must have been, you know, a great feeling of relief to get to the spring for our ancestors, because they'd made it through the long, cold months of winter. So one of the things that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks leading up, and I'll carry on over this weekend and over the next week or two, is doing some spring cleaning. I'm not huge on doing hours and hours of housework. It's not my favorite thing, but it does feel nice to give your place a spring clean. And one of the things that I've been doing is working my way around the windows and cleaning the windows, letting more light in. Symbolically, and actually I have to say literally as well. It's like, oh gosh, actually that is brighter. And then you could look around, and I suggest that you can do this sitting here now. Look around your house, you can do it in your mind, and think about somewhere or something that doesn't normally get a clean, doesn't get the normal sort of cleaning regime. And I want you to think, just take a little trek around your home, and don't think, oh, I have to do everything, but just think one thing that would symbolize welcoming in the spring to you, one thing that you could clean or give a treat to, that would symbolize hello spring energy, hello fresh energy. If you've got lots of things to do one a day. Don't sort of try and do it all and then think, I'm exhausted now. You know, don't be like Mole in Wind of the Willows going, hang the spring cleaning. It uplifts us. When we do something nice for our homes, it actually lifts our hearts as well. So it's a reciprocal arrangement, and you'll enjoy the results. When we get a bright day, this is the perfect time for those of you with crystal collections to gather your crystals up, take them outside if you've got an outdoor space, or if you've got a balcony, and let the sunshine get to them if you can do that. Otherwise, windowsills if you haven't got that space. but actually it will kind of wake them up a bit after the winter. So let's talk a little bit about this lady, this beautiful goddess. Now she's called Eostre or Eostre or Eostre, which gives you an idea of what she's about. So she actually names our female hormone, estrogen, for us. She's also, her name is also in the word east, which is her direction. One of her names is the Goddess of the Dawn. Goddess of the Dawn, which is east and sun rising, which gives you an idea of her lovely, fresh potential. And she actually gives her name to the festival of Easter. Those early Christians looked at the popularity. Her festival is called Ostara. She's a Germanic spring goddess that was celebrated in Europe. So she was being celebrated very widely, spring equinox time, goddess of the spring, goddess of fertility, new potential, new growth. You can see she's got her bird nest here with little birds on her hand and lots of floral bits around her. So it's a really beautiful, youthful goddess. And those early Christians went, they've got a popular celebration here, and they were very practical, and they said, okay, new beginnings, fresh growth after winter, that kind of goes with, and this is what I think their thought processes went, that sort of goes with the crucifixion and the resurrection, you know, with new life following death. And so actually they adopted the pagan festival and they didn't change the name much, which is, so it's the most obvious one of all the Christian celebrations. It's the most obvious one that actually comes from the pagan festival because it's Easter. And you can see very clearly that that comes from Ostara and Eostre. Actually, of all the pagan festivals, it's probably the one that's celebrated the most, but quite unwittingly, because what happens at Easter, the very devout Christians will go to church and they'll think about the crucifixion and the resurrection, and that's absolutely fine. And then more secular society goes mad buying eggs. What are eggs? Symbolic of the goddess of fresh start, new growth and fertility. So actually we have a mass pagan celebration coming up with Easter. So it very much survives to the present day, even if it is slightly Christianized. And one of the other symbols that survives is the hare, which has become the Easter bunny. So Eostre's symbol is the hare and or several symbols, spring flowers, the hare and eggs, and it has now become the Easter bunny. So we really have got quite a big, well-supported pagan festival going on at this time of year. And one of the stories told about Eostre, the goddess, is that there was once a little girl who found a dying bird. The poor little bird was dying, and she was very heartbroken about this and upset. And she held it in her hand and she called upon the goddess Eostre to help her. And Eostre descended from the heavens upon a rainbow and surrounded the little girl and the bird with her warmth and her healing. And sadly, the little bird was actually too far gone and it did die, but in its place, it was resurrected and it became magically transformed into a hare, which is why the hare is associated with her. So let's talk a little bit about why I chose Aventurine for today. Aventurine is, for me, the most spring-like, especially green Aventurine, the most spring-like of all of the crystals. It's got a lovely, fresh, vibrant energy that says fresh beginnings, new opportunities, fresh new growth to me. So it's a very spring-like energy. You could have used something like calcite. That's got a nice fresh energy as well. And it's got a sparkle to it. In fact, the sparkle in Aventurine, if you've got a piece with sparkle, it hasn't all got sparkle, the little speckles are made of mica in green Aventurine. And I have a piece the mica is called fuchsite. So that's, you can just about see it sparkly there. That's a piece of, there we are, that's a better. Can you see all those sparkles? So that's green fuchsite, and the sparkles in green aventurine are made of green fuchsite, which is actually, fuchsite's quite crumbly. I'll have little, if I look properly, I'll have little sparkles on me just from holding that piece. So it's got this lovely magical sort of glow about it, lovely glimmering glow and feeling of optimism, fresh growth and spring energy. So hopefully you have got your aventurine with you, and I'm going to ask you to hold it, and I have written a visualization for you, especially for this session and for the equinox, where we're going to meet with the goddess. So get yourself comfy and hold your green aventurine and take a few deep breaths. And I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye that you're in an alpine meadow. Just imagine that you can see in the background snow-capped mountains, alpine mountains, but all around you, you're surrounded with lush green grass, beautiful fresh green grass, which is dotted with brightly coloured alpine flowers. And you can feel just a gentle warmth coming from the sun. The skies are lovely blue, flecked with white clouds. It's really fresh and bright and clean looking. And there's just a gentle breeze that ruffles your hair. And as the breeze blows through your hair, you're feeling like the cobwebs of winter are being swept away with it. You're feeling refreshed. And as you stand admiring this beautiful landscape, you become aware of a youthful woman who is sitting in the meadow. You look at her and see her hair is garlanded with flowers. And you see small birds fly around her, and they're taking it in turns to come down, fluttering down to perch on her hands. And you see there is a brown hare beside her, looking up adoringly at her. You approach the woman and recognize that she is the Goddess Eostre. And as you come closer, you catch the scent of spring flowers coming from her. She looks at you and smiles and seems delighted to see you. Come close to her now. As she smiles, she reaches her hands into a basket at her side, and she selects from it a glowing green aventurine egg. And she presents the egg to you. You gratefully receive this precious gift. And as you hold the egg, you feel a fluttering sense of excitement and anticipation. You sense there is a glimmering light coming from within the egg, and you're aware that this is a gift of potential and fresh beginnings. The goddess charges you to look after this precious egg as she is leaving it in your care. She says, "All you have to do is treat my gift with love. It carries a special surprise for you, something fresh and new, and it is symbolic of hope. You don't need to know what that is yet, or how my gift will manifest in the world. No more than a bird studies how a chick will form in the egg, or predict how it will look when it hatches, or than a mother has to understand how a baby grows in the womb. Just trust that it will grow. Nurture your egg with love. Surrender any need to control the process, and know it will develop perfectly. You will find out what your egg holds before the summer is here. And when that new potential arrives in your world, you can continue to love and nurture it so that it flourishes and grows. You thank Eostre for her generosity and carefully hold your egg with your green physical aventurine to your heart center. Surround them with your loving energy. Hold them there now. Notice the feeling of hope this gift awakens in you. And visualize somewhere safe you can place your egg along with the green aventurine. Perhaps you'll put it on your altar, or maybe it'll go on a dressing table or a shelf where you keep some of your favorite things. Where will you put this precious gift of hope and new beginnings? And think of ways that you can honor your gift and give it the love it needs to grow and manifest into something fresh and new for you. Maybe you'll add some spring flowers or a feather. Hold your green aventurine to your heart center for at least a few minutes every day, visualizing that you're holding the egg with it there too. As you surround this gift from Eostre with love, you feel the optimism and hope for the future. Think, how can you thank Eostre for her generosity? Will you plant something fresh and new in the garden? Or help nesting birds putting out soft fur you collect from grooming your pets? Or perhaps you'll put up a nest box for them. How are you going to thank Eostre in this world, in the physical world? What action will you take to thank her for this gift? And when you've chosen a fitting way to honour Eostre, you can let the images fade. Take a few deep breaths. And then you can have a stretch and you can open your eyes. And remember, you're now holding your magical egg that you're going to, after this session, you're going to take to its special place along with your green Aventurine. Don't forget about your egg, will you? And it'll be exciting to find out what is going to come into your life, what's going to hatch from your magical egg from the goddess. And hopefully your hearts all felt, my heart felt lovely and warm when I was nurturing the egg. I felt very connected with it. So do remember that you're going to be picking up your egg and holding it to your heart energy once a day, at least for the next few weeks, until it feels like that new thing. You'll recognize it. You'll know when that new thing comes in. It'll be like, oh, that was the gift. Fantastic. My egg has hatched. I know that it's come to fruition. It has come into my life. So my Aventurine actually feels incredibly, I don't know what yours is feeling like in your hands, but mine's feeling incredibly lively and happy and energized from doing that visualization. The promise from the goddess, and she was quite clear when I was communicating this morning and writing the meditation and getting the visualization, she was very clearly wanted to say this will come to fruition by the summer. So she can't tell you whether it will be next week, the week after, but by the summer, something fresh and new is going to come in if you look after your egg. So do that. Do remember that once the new project or new potential or whatever the fresh thing is shows, then it may also need further nurturing. Like a baby bird, you might have to feed it with good energy for a while before it's ready to get its own little wings and start to fly by itself. So this is the first stage. This is in the egg stage, and then you may have some more work to do to bring this lovely new thing into fully into the world, fully into fruition.